I was wrong in doing what I did.
No! Are you listening?
Hang on, I can't even catch my breath. Hang on.
Sean here, and I have to say, I know I've used this thumbnail before, and I've reused some of them, and there's a reason. It's because how they're making me feel. Lynn Armstrong, because I'm taking the Lorne off, because that guy's gone. Lorne is so far out there. I'm going to try to reel him back in, and I'm going to call him Lynn Armstrong. Xavier Monarch still lives in a penthouse in that dude's head. As a goof, last night I sat down with my friend Justin, the guy I told you was Viking. I sat down with him. He is a whiz. Anything I know about IT, he knows way more. And there's another guy named Chris. We used him as a reference. He knows a lot about hacking. He's been to a lot of those conventions where they give you like a lock to pick, as sort of a gimmick. When you come in, they teach you how to pick a lock, and they give you lock picking tools to show you, I guess, how easy it is with just a little training to break into something. However, to have the tools, to have the technology, to be able to afford, I guess, the protection and the software that you would need, because you have to make donations. This is from what I heard. You have to make donations to some of these sites that you go through that will completely protect you from getting busted whenever you go to the dark net or whatever. I know there are apps. I know there are apps out there because I have one. When I was calling my friend Rich, he's over in Malaysia, Thailand. He travels all over the place because he was working for 1FC. But I had a number that would allow me to call him via this app. So I know the app is possible, I guess, to crack. But the deal is, I'm on iOS. Lorne's phones are archaic. Believe it or not, the older phones are harder to crack into. I don't know if he has a modern iPhone. I don't care. But I know that iOS is harder to get into than Android, relatively speaking. There are lots of apps, lots of ways to contact people, and I have to tell you, Lorne still believes that Xavier Monarch is after him. This unrepentant, drunken pedophile who lives in a trailer that's falling down around him, who has no job. He's not famous. Exposing Lorne will not make you famous. We all know that. Now, there are some people who've gotten some notoriety through the TCAP community, but focusing specifically on Lorne, it's a niche part of the internet. And I like it that way, because you get the casuals in here and the trolls start coming in, and it starts becoming unpleasant. And as we all know, somebody eventually gets kicked out of the community. So we were joking around and we started talking about money. Now, Xavier Monarch has not moved on with his life in Lynn Armstrong's life. He hasn't moved on. Xavier is solely focused on him and making his life a living hell. Now, if I'm a rational person, I start to look at the whole situation and I'm like, wait a minute. These catfish women, all they have to do is put it on the internet. And only they are the ones that are appearing when that information appears. Oh, are those sirens behind me? Oh, are those red lights flashing in front of me? I wonder what Xavier set them up. The money Xavier would have had to spend, the time he would have devoted, not being at work. This would have been his full-time job, keeping up with Lorne's burn phone, hacking into his catfish women, all of their devices, somehow finding their IPs, somehow finding out their numbers. I don't know if he thinks these catfish women gave Xavier their numbers. I don't. I don't know what's in his head, because Lynn Armstrong, his brain, it has like two little dots in there, two little neurons firing, and one of them's missing and the other one's out looking for it. In the latest Casey call, Roy, as drunk and crazy as he is pointing out to Lorne, hey dude, some stuff's appearing on the internet. And Lorne, because he's so desperate, and this is why I love Casey, because in the call, He's talking about what Roy told him. He's like, oh, he's drunk. I don't believe him. He's drunk. And then he confronts her about it. And she points out that if you didn't believe it, why couldn't you have just texted me and I would have told you no? Well, because, I wanted to hear you, whatever. We all know it was a ploy. He's desperate. He'll do anything to get these women on the phone. We talked about those voicemail messages. I found out something. I have some questions for you. You're fucking cheating on me. And everything else he uses that he thinks is going to get them to call him back. And I love it when they don't. And Casey in this call, she was pretty blunt. She laid it out. She said, call me back when you have some evidence. And Lorne started to panic. As soon as she told him, if you don't believe me, you could hear his voice change. He thought he had leverage. He thought he had the upper hand. His whole life revolves around him telling these, whatever the current woman is, that the past women and all this stuff being put on the internet, well, my past, I don't know if I could really trust you, because he thinks it's going to make them work harder. They're going to go out of their way to prove them. Well, Emma's the only one to fucking prove herself to me. Well, fucking prove it. He wants everybody to prove something to him, and I made a video on that. But I love how Casey just shut his ass down, and she said, bye, almost like Debbie did. Okay, bye. She said bye. I can only imagine the text messages, the panicked text messages, because we talked about him. If he doesn't get the response he wants, or he feels like maybe he went too far, he's going to start sending those text messages, hoping that you'll respond back. If you're mad at him, we talked about if you're mad at him and apologies, he'll say sorry, and then if you don't text him back, he'll send another one. Oh, hey, I forgot to tell you when we were talking, Roy did this or that. It's really sad. You don't respond. Then he's gonna sort of revert back to panic. Hey, man, I'm just trying to reach out to you. Anyway, the long and short of it was, he uses all of this to try to get people to call him back, to get them on the phone. Xavier has been that one constant that he likes to throw out there. I know Xavier's the hacker you're talking about. Did Xavier tell you to say that? I don't think he's ever going to be able to cut Xavier out of his life. From what was hinted at, from what I've been told, Lorne is back on the internet. And during Lorne Miss, it doesn't matter who I heard it from, because the person I talked to, that I was able to reach, would have known. So I think Lorne is back on the internet. And I'll be honest with you, if my name was out there like his, I would be curious. I would want to know what people are saying. Not all the time, but every once in a while. But I think Lorne, once he gets on the internet, he gets on it again. Oh, well, nobody's busted me yet, so it's only against the rules and against the law if I get caught, so let me get on the internet again. And I think that's what he's doing. I think when there's no catfish women, he gets back on the internet. The more he's on the internet, the more likely he is to find a mate, at least in his eyes. If I can just show that I'm here, that'll give people, they'll know they can contact me through wherever I'm at. All of the evidence, all of the videos, all of the phone calls, the text messages, all of the streams. I mean, for God's sake, if he were to go into Heelborn's stream, which I know he has, you know he has, it would be blatantly obvious that Xavier's not involved in any of this. He still talks to Casey as if Will is real. She told him that it was a dude playing Jamie. And yet, he knows Jamie is fake. But he still refers to Will as if he's real. And we talked about how Lorne sees the character and sees the person behind the character. Casey told him, and we made a video about this, he wasn't concerned that she met somebody that was pretending to be Jamie, and it was not the person. Lorne didn't show any concern. In that case, because Jamie fooled him, she wasn't real. But because Will's a man, because Lorne doesn't like it when another man gets one up on him, he's never going to admit that Will, even if Will showed up at his door, or whoever played Will, and said, look, listen to my voice. I'm Will. that pause would be there. Bullshit. Bullshit. You need to get off my property. You're just another one of these people infatuated with me that you just want to come up to my door and bother me. I apologize if Lorne sounds like every Kentucky, Tennessee redneck ever. And I apologize if he sounds like he's trying to be a southern gentleman. I think I told you the story. My daughter, she was like a page, or whatever they call them. I think it's a page. When she was like 5 or 6, they got to walk up with a senator. And before she went, I was messing with her, and I'm like, when he gets up there, sweetheart, he's going to say, we of the Kentucky Commission, we'd like to find, because they sound like Colonel Sanders. She was like, no, Daddy. Daddy, stop. That's not what they sound like. She goes up there. He gets to the podium. I would like to address the House here. My daughter chuckled. And he thought it was cute. Like, she was just so excited. And she came back and she said, you're right, Daddy. The governor at the time was Steve Beshear. Steve walks through, because where I used to work at, it was a rinky-dink place. And I'm making a point here, too. But the person who came in, he's the guy you want to follow. He's the guy like Steve Jobs. As a matter of fact, he's just like Steve Jobs. You end up wanting to make him happy, complete your goals. You're always moving the pegs forward. He taught me a valuable lesson. There's not priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's priority 1A, 1B, 1C. Everything's a top priority. Anything worth doing is a priority. I excelled because of him. He pushed me to limits I'd never been to. It took a lot of work to get to the technical level I was at. As a matter of fact, we did a drill, the first in the nation. 8 of us were in a room. President Obama was on a teleconference with us, a video conference. That's how important it was. And he took that agency from rinky-dink to important. My point is, for me to get from point A to point B, to the point where I'm looking at President Obama on the screen, answering questions about the program that I wrote on the fly. There are plenty of witnesses. If anybody questions that, I got hell for that for a long time, but it was a special moment. Xavier Monarch would have had to devote his time. His priorities would be 1, hack Lynn Armstrong, 1A, hack Winnie, 1B, hack Emma, 1C, hack Debbie, 1C, hack Casey. It would have gone all the way down. He would have devoted all of his time, and he would have had to have been his own motivator. As a matter of fact, if we do another Catfish, someone needs to be above Xavier. Someone they don't know the name for. Imply that it could be Chris Hansen, but never say Chris, because legal trouble. Put somebody over Xavier. Lorne has a new nemesis, and for the rest of his life, some of you think it will be in the next 2 years he goes, but for the rest of his life, he'll be trying to figure out who it is past Xavier. And we know if he thinks it's Chris, it will be Chris. Talk about having some fun with this dude. Very quickly, when I got in my car accident, the reason I have a little bit of a lisp is because when I got in my car accident, I broke a steering wheel in half with my face. Didn't break any bones, tore skin off. But I will tell you this. Later in life, they found out that there was some big problems because my upper gum and my lower gum had shifted. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with my teeth. So I have implants in some, drilled down in there, implants. And it makes it difficult to talk sometimes because there's a difference between having real teeth all the way around and then having implants. It was a painful procedure, I'll tell you that. But if you ever question why that is, that's why I have that. It makes me so happy to think he believes Xavier's still in charge. He thinks he's running this whole operation. He actually thinks it couldn't possibly be that these women hate him, that these men that are involved are trying to keep him away from real women, that these people are trying to teach him a lesson. He can't move on. The fact that he's being catfished should scream at him, Lorne, Lynn, finish up your classes. Get out. Get away from all that. earn trust, get some trust with your probation and parole. They'll back off a little bit. You'll have a little bit more freedom and breathing room. Keep your nose clean. But he can't do it. Because if they discover, and we all know he is, on the internet, if they discover that he's on the internet and he's looking up things about himself, he's going to piss them off. Because he is still doing what he did back when he was talking to Ramona. I want to talk to the person who plays Casey. I'm not sure if they'll ever fully reveal themselves. It's a perfect catfish. They went so far. They tried to prove they were who they were. Genius. I don't know if Heilborn had a hand in it, but he's really smart. It wouldn't surprise me if I don't know the backstory. If they talked about it on a stream, I haven't heard it yet. Like I said, I am trying to catch up. There's so much new content out there. And this Casey saga has got me glued to the screen because I want to know how it ends. I have a feeling it's going to be coming to an end soon. Lorne can't handle a true, strong woman. It's funny that it's apparently a male using a voice changer to create the most realistic female voice I've ever heard. I've got a plan with some software. I believe that Xavier Von Bacon Boy, Raptor Bacon, has used it before in his streams or in a video. And I found it. I think I'm going to pay the money to be able to use it. I'm going to have some fun. Lynn Armstrong will always be a lol cow. He'll never learn. Narcissistic tendencies. A sociopath with psychopathic tendencies. Reactive attachment disorder. Bipolar. Possibly bipolar 1, which is the worst. Worst case scenario for Lorne is what I mean. There are things much worse. I hope at one point, whoever the next catfish is, because we know. And here's something to think about. Some of you think that Lorne's going to be dead within the next few years. If that's the case, there could be an active catfish going on. And Lorne would die in the middle of this catfish saga. I don't wish death on anybody, but whoever that catfish is will be a legend. And I honestly believe if Lorne went in the hospital, he wouldn't want to talk to his mom or Roy or anybody else that's alive. He'd want to talk to that catfish. He'd want the catfish to write the eulogy if they told him he was going to die, but of course Lorne wouldn't believe it. So the catfish would have the honor of writing the eulogy, submitting to him whatever, edition A, the scroll of catfish. Then once he passes, submit the revision to the funeral home, because we talked about it. Who's going to be there? Who's going to bury him? Roy? I think Roy would poop on his grave. I really do. I'm shocked Roy hasn't revealed something to him yet, and he may still do it. And if he does, high five to Roy. But I'm going to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I want Lorne to stay alive at least till 65, and I want him to continue to be catfished. Because without this content, we're good. Luckily we have new content creators. They can go back and give their perspectives. I've noticed in the past year, people that are talking about Lorne, it's become more clinical. I think we all are trying to understand how this happened. Jamie exposed him. Jamie opened a window into his head, and we saw just how desperate, and even when he's sober, he's dangerous. He doesn't think. He has no cognitive ability that will allow him to reason or to see facts and logic. He still sees what he wants. What he thinks is the truth is the truth. So if anyone has access, and I don't mind being a part of it, if anyone has access and they want to do that Xavier idea, putting someone above him, I would absolutely love it. And I would help in any way that I possibly could. I still want to do the documentary. I still do. I have the equipment. I went back and verified I have the equipment. I have that new laptop. I can't find my broadcast mic, which is why I'm still recording the way I am. But my son is with his mom. I have the weekend to find it. And I should have a nice sounding video out for you guys as a test. My OBS is set up. It's connected to my YouTube account. I can stream. A lot of stuff that's hopefully going to give you guys something else that you like to listen to. I appreciate you listening to me. I really do. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah,